This section looks at the data cleaning step of the data wrangling process. The cleaning step is the third defined step within the data wrangling process, following structuring. In the data cleaning step, you start to make the raw data ready for use in your pipeline. Usually at this step, cleaning is per source, based on the characteristics of that source. Data cleaning includes tasks such as the following: remove unwanted data, fill in missing data values, validate or modify data types, and fix outliers. Depending on who does the cleaning, the methods and results might be different. For example, a data engineer who is only responsible for successfully loading the data into the pipeline might make sure that blank fields are replaced with values that fit the data type. However, a data analyst might replace blanks by adding corrected values. Let's look at each task in a bit more detail. Even when you intend to load data into your data lake for a variety of use cases, there are elements that you don't want to store. For example, columns that include PII or fields that aren't relevant for analysis. You would also want to remove duplicate values that are present in the source file. You might need to remove values that don't represent the intended contents for a field or attribute. For example, a field with corrupted data or unwanted characters that won't conform to the target's requirements or that would prevent the row from being joined with other related data successfully. Data cleaning also addresses missing data. For example, fields that are blank might need to be converted to zeros if the field should represent a number. You might also need to fill in data for mandatory fields so that the data set will load into a target structure. For example, if the target table expects a postal code for each record, but your source has some records that are missing this field, the cleaning process would need to put a generic value in to replace the missing value. Another cleaning step that helps to ensure that the data being ingested can be stored and referenced as intended is to validate the data types in the source file match the target and to modify those that don't. For example, if the source file stores dates as a text string and the target requires a specifically formatted date field, you would need to convert the strings to properly formatted date fields. One cleaning step that might require a bit more analysis is to identify outliers and either remove them from the dataset or fix them at the source. A data engineer might run a script that identifies values that are far outside the range of other data values and remove those rows. A data analyst or data scientist might dig deeper to determine if the outlier is an error that should be fixed at the source or data that should be discarded. In the example presented here, the value of 4200 in row 5 was an outlier. The analyst replaced it with 42. Using the example provided, the cleaning step would include replacing the blank customer ID with a placeholder that uses the correct number of digits so that the data set will load into the data warehouse. Depending on the use case, the data engineer might pass the file to the data analyst to directly correct the customer ID. Another cleaning task that's illustrated is removing corrupted data in column C that was pasted into the subject from an error message. The data engineer recognizes that some of the special characters could create issues when loading the data or trying to analyze it. The final cleaning step for this example is to validate and modify data types. In the example, the data engineer modifies the numeric priority values such as 1, 2, and 3 to match the text values in the other ticket system. The engineer maps 1 to high, 2 to medium, and 3 to low. They also modify the date fields to match the timestamp format that the data warehouse uses. Here are a few key points to summarize this section. Data cleaning is about preparing the raw data for use in a pipeline. Cleaning is usually done per source and includes tasks such as removing duplicates, fixing values, and adjusting data types.